we're going to get more details surrounding the collapse of Lehman Brothers. More documents will be released today. My next guest says they should support the case that there was material mismanagement at the bankrupt firm. She's Vicky, the author of The Devil's Casino, a book out last month on the rise and fall of Lehman Brothers. And Vicky, great to have you back.
Thanks, Betty.
For some insight on this. So as you and I were talking about, this is going to be the appendices of what we saw in this Valukas report, right?
Yes, so I don't expect that the outcome ought to be any different from what we already know what he thinks.
Right.
It will just provide the media with more interesting material, more emails, more letters.
So there's no smoking gun in here, you don't expect?
Well, no, but on the other hand, as we saw yesterday with that story in the New York Times, Hudson Castle, yet more evidence that Lehman was hiding its risk. The same with Repo 105. And I think what's really interesting about all of this is that it's kind of, Lehman is in a way exposing the way I think the whole industry hides its risk. Because I was talking to people in all sorts of banks yesterday, and everyone knows that you don't reveal the risk you're taking in the middle of a quarter until the end of the quarter. And this is kind of what we're seeing with Lehman, in a way, is the lid coming off. And I think we have to be careful until we can actually get Dick Fuld and Chris O'Meara and Erin Callan into court and have them actually explain, did they intend to mislead investors, or is this, as Ernst & Young have very strongly said, just business as usual, with not just Lehman but other banks?
Is there nobody else, though, who can illuminate this for us other than Fuld?
Well, there's no one at the moment saying why Lehman did this. There's no one actually stating Lehman's case. So it's more like the press is sort of having a screaming match with itself. And so I think we really do need prosecutors to get people into a courtroom. Dick Fuld is going to testify on the 20th. And I think we need some clarification, because at the moment it's interesting, but I think it's probably more widespread than Lehman.
But maybe hauling Ernst & Young, for instance, their auditor, hauling them into regulatory offices, maybe that will reveal something.
That will, although Ernst & Young have said that they do this with all their clients, and it was business as usual.
Right.
So I think that we need,
which is a troubling statement.
Yes. Well, but my book, The Devil's Casino, shows how for 4 decades Lehman hid risk. In the 70s, they used to take the cards off the wall if anyone came to visit mid-quarter. In the 80s, they had this thing called Dick's Reserve. But it didn't mean that the result at the end of the quarter was necessarily wrong, which is why it's a grey area.
Okay.
And I also think that on Wall Street, it's well known, they all do it.
Right. It's
so I think really the regulators that talk about regulatory reform look at this very closely.
I've always loved hearing the excuse you've heard throughout these hearings. Well, I did it, but everybody else did it, so it's okay.
I know.
In any case, all right, Vicky, thank you so much for joining us.